Ever reply to a message perfectly in your head only to realize hours later that nothing was actually sent? And it feels confusing, almost embarrassing, like your mind and your phone live in separate worlds. But psychology says this isn't forgetfulness. It's a very specific cognitive pattern where your brain completes the social task internally before your fingers ever move. This happens because your brain treats mental rehearsal as real interaction. Research shows that for reflective thinkers, inner speech can feel emotionally complete, which means once the response is formed, your brain registers closure, even though the action was never executed. And that gap between thought and behavior is where the unsent message lives. Your brain relies heavily on inner dialogue. Psychology calls this internalized communication. And for people with strong introspective processing, the mental response carries emotional weight, tone, and intention. So when you reply in your head, your brain experiences the relief of having responded. This creates what researchers call task completion illusion, where the mind marks something as done before the physical step happens. Another layer is cognitive load. When you read a message, your brain doesn't just process words, it processes context, emotional risk, timing, and consequence, especially if you care about how you're perceived. Your prefrontal cortex gets involved analyzing the best possible reply, and that depth of processing uses working memory. Once the mental draft is formed, your attention shifts, and the phone becomes secondary, not because you don't care, but because your brain already did the heavy lifting. There's also the role of anxiety regulation. Psychology shows that mentally replying can temporarily reduce social pressure. Your brain practices safety before exposure by rehearsing outcomes, and once that internal comfort is achieved, the urgency drops. The message no longer feels threatening, so sending it loses priority. This isn't avoidance, it's your nervous system calming itself before engagement. Your habit is also linked to perfectionism, not the loud kind, but the quiet internal version. Research shows people who value precision often delay action until alignment feels right. So, your mind keeps refining the response, adjusting tone, wording, and emotional balance. And while that happens, time passes, sending feels less clean, less intentional. So the message waits, not because you forgot, but because your standards are high. What looks like inconsistency is actually depth. You think before you act, you feel before you send, you care about accuracy, connection, and emotional impact. Your brain prioritizes meaning over immediacy, which is why it finishes the conversation internally first. This is common in introverts, deep thinkers, and emotionally intelligent minds. So if you've ever wondered why your best replies live only in your head, remember psychology sees this as strong inner processing, not a flaw. Your mind complete social loops internally, and that's a form of intelligence, even if the world expects faster taps and quicker sends. If this felt familiar, share it with someone who thinks the same way, and tell me in the comments how many unsent replies are living rent-free in your head right now.